Why is 2023 the best time to buy or sell a home? We're going to tell you.
Hi, I'm Matthew Dalke.
And I'm Karen Dalke. We have a top performing team here in south of Atlanta. And today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the housing market here in Fayette County for this year.
Now guys, I'm sure you've heard from your friends, neighbors, relatives, aunts, uncles that this year is not a good time to buy a home. And today we're going to give you the facts so that by the end of this video, you can decide if they're right or wrong in the comments below.
That's right. Let's jump into it.
Consider this a housing market 101 or housing market for dummies. This video is going to be specifically for 2023 because the housing market changes every single year. So we're really going to help you understand what's going on this year. To kick things off, we're going to talk about market absorption rate.
Market absorption rate? What is that? That sounds so scary and confusing. It's much more simple than you think. We're going to break it down for you.
Really, that just means the supply. So there are actually three categories that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a seller's market, a balanced market, and a buyer's market. And why this is important to you is you're going to understand if you're a buyer or seller, is this a great time for me? Or maybe should I wait for just a few months? First off, I'm going to start a seller's market. A seller's market basically means we're in one now, right?
We are.
Yeah, and we're going to tell you why. Based on the facts. And that's what we go by because I have my opinion, but always the facts, right? So just like if you're going to the store and 3 people want that one item, you're gonna pay more for it, right? So we're seeing in this market currently, we have an inventory that is still less than 4 months. So what that means is it would take up to 4 months to sell all of the current inventory without any new houses hitting the market, right? It's gonna take that long to sell. That's what constitutes a seller's market, and that's kind of how that works. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It means there are, just like anything else we see, supply and demand, there are more buyers than there are homes. So that means we're gonna see a lot more multiple offers. There's gonna be more buyers going to that one particular house. Again, the multiple offers can be bad for buyers because it's driving up the price, but guess what? If you're a seller, you're loving this. You're sitting back and just enjoying the money flow in, which we've been in multiple offers, haven't we?
We have.
It's very stressful, but that's a seller's market, and that's why you need a really good real estate agent to negotiate for you in a seller's market if you are a buyer.
And a balanced market means you have about the same number of buyers and sellers at any given time looking for homes or selling homes.
Which we haven't seen a balanced market in lots of years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we've been on the rise in a seller's market since at least 17 probably. And for all you buyers out there, what we're hoping for is a buyer's market, which is the third category, which is anywhere from about 6 months up. And why this is beneficial to buyers is there are so many more homes than buyers, so buyers have a choice. So if they go to a seller, that house is gonna be sitting on the market a lot longer. So guess what? What do you think is the seller gonna be negotiable?
The seller's gonna be ready to sell.
Absolutely, so you're gonna start seeing closing costs where the seller's paying some closing costs. They're making more repairs to the house. They're negotiating off the price of the house. So these are all things that we're gonna see. And you're also probably gonna see lower interest rates as well because they need to kind of spike the economy and get things rolling again. So they may have some incentives out there for buyers. Just like as we've seen with the supply being so low, the Fed had to go in and increase interest rates across the board on products and banks and housing and all of that.
So what is the market absorption rate right now in the summer of 2023? Right now what we're seeing in Fayette County, Georgia is about 1.7 months. And in the past 12 months, that's come down from 1.9 months supply on market.
Even at 6 months, we were at 1.9, so we've still stayed under 2 months.
And what that means is we are very much still in a seller's market in this part of the country.
So if you're a seller, guess what? It's a great time to sell.
So anyone who has told you that it is not a great time to sell, they were wrong. Now that you've heard everything about supply, we're gonna move on to the next category, DOM, as we like to call it, or days on market. And for days on market, there's actually 3 categories to this as well. We have our active listings, our under contracts, and our solds. An active listing is something that is currently still on the market. Something that is called under contract means they already have an accepted offer on the property and we're waiting to go to closing. And sold properties, obviously they have already sold.
So we're first gonna talk about active listings and the days on market, how many days that home takes to basically go under contract. Doesn't mean to sell, it means from the time the agent puts it in the multiple listing services and it feeds to your Zillows and Realtors and Trulias and Redfins, right? It's gonna be how many days does it take from the day they put it on the market to the day it goes under contract. Right now, the average days on market are 40, with the average sales price being $685,000 on active listings. And the most interesting thing about this is our luxury market. The 2 million plus homes have the lowest days on market of 18 currently, which is pretty much unheard of. So the luxury market is doing pretty well. Our third and final one is our sold category. So as of right now, average days on market to sell a house is 28 days. Do you remember when it was like 3 or 6 months?
Months and months.
Yeah, I mean, when we first got in the business, it took a long time. It may be a little more than last year, but that's still an exciting number for any seller to see. What that means is homes are gonna be going really quickly. So if you are a buyer, I would encourage you, you've gotta have a top-notch realtor who's out there searching and really being fast about putting an offer in. You can't drag your feet in this market. If you see a house you love, put a contract on it quickly. So now we're gonna be discussing the average sales price. And as you're hearing on the news, the housing market's going down, prices are going down, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna tell you that's not the case where we are. So if we're looking at May through August of last year and May through August of this year, the average sales price last year was $521,000. The average sales price this year is $548,000. Guess what? That's a 5.1% increase. That means if you bought a home at that time, you're gonna see about a 5% increase on your home. So when people say, don't buy a house now, it's not a good time. I mean, if I can invest in something that I live in, that I love, and get 5% a year, that's fantastic, right? And when we see increases like this year over year, it's really benefiting everyone. If you're a buyer who just bought a home a year ago, guess what? You've got equity. And if you're a seller and you've had your home for a while, you have equity. And if you're buying a house now, based on what we're seeing, we're still gonna be seeing an increase, you're going to have equity. So any way you look at it, this is a great time and we're having equity in our houses.
The next thing we're going to talk about is list to sales price. When Dalke Home Group puts a sign in your yard, that may not actually be the price that it closes for. That difference is called the list to sales price difference. In a seller's market like we have right now, those numbers are going to be really close. You're going to get around 100%. In a buyer's market, there's going to be a lot more negotiation. You're probably not going to see anything close to 100% list to sales price. For the past couple of years in the seller's market, we have hovered around that 100% list to sales price. For a time period last year in 2022, from about May to August, sellers were actually getting 100.6% list to sales price, meaning whatever they listed their home for, they were actually getting more. The reason for that is that there were so many buyers competing for the same house, supply and demand. For that same time period, May to August this year in 2023, we are still seeing 99% list to sales price, so sellers are getting almost their full asking price. And to put this in real numbers, let's take a $500,000 home. If you're getting 99% list to sales price, that is still wonderful for sellers. You're talking about negotiating about maybe $5,000. So that is a little glimmer of hope for buyers out there. There still is a little bit of negotiating room. And backtracking to the time period from last year when sellers were getting about 100.6%, that meant they were getting over list price by about $3,000 on that average $500,000 sale.
That makes sense.
It does.
Next, we're gonna talk about how many homes have sold, and we're gonna use the example of July of last year versus July of this year. Because you are hearing on the news that less homes are selling, which is true, but we're gonna explain why. And for Fayette County, we're gonna talk about year over year units / homes sold. Last year in July, there were 236 homes new that hit the market. This year, July of 2023 in Fayette County, there were only 184 homes that hit the market. So that was a decrease of 22% less inventory for buyers to buy this year versus last year. So when the news talks about, oh, less homes are selling this year, the market's going down, that is true. Less homes have sold this year, but that's also because there are a lot less homes listed, 22% less homes listed this year in a 1 month period than last year. The last part we're gonna talk about are interest rates. Now, I know there's a lot of frustration out there over interest rates, right? So as of right now, Fannie Mae has the average interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage at 6.8%. In quarter two, they were 6.5%. And in quarter one, they were 6.4%. And they think they're gonna settle in probably somewhere around 6.6%. So I know that that's definitely a lot higher than we've had, but guess what? I think we've all been really spoiled and had interest rates that just were not really feasible to stay around and keep a good, solid economy. So that's kind of where we are. And these rates are still a lot lower than our average. Historical average interest rates were 7%. You may be paying a little more in the interest rate, but you're getting to negotiate a little bit more. And also you're getting equity. You're getting, roughly around 5 or 6% a year in equity. So that is, again, gonna help with the higher interest rates.
And while it does seem like mid to high sixes for an interest rate seems really, really high when people think back to a few years ago when it was in the 3% range. But if you think back historically, I know my parents bought a home in the 80s and I believe it was in the 12 to 15% range, which
That's high.
that is really high. So comparatively over a 30-year period, when you look at what interest rates have been in the past, somewhere around 7% is still historically a low interest rate. When you compare home ownership at around 6.5%, 6.8%, those numbers might seem high, but think about all the car loans out there. People are paying 10%, 12% on car loans. Credit cards, 20, 25% is not unheard of for a credit card interest rate.
And you don't get to live in your car or on your credit card.
That's true. Now that we've broken everything down for you, you can clearly see that buying a home in 2023 is just as good a time as it's ever been. And we know that buying real estate can never be a bad investment. Year over year, the historical numbers prove it. Buying a home and keeping it for 10 or 20 years, investing in real estate, it's always a solid investment. Sometimes we hear a lot of negative things about buying homes. Maybe it's people who are doing property flipping or other creative types of real estate investing. We're talking about homeowners who want to buy a home and get in a home. Always a great investment.
Okay, I hope you guys really enjoy this. I get a little geeked out on these numbers because it really tells a story, again, of what's going on in our market, why it is so smart and great to own a home. I mean, not to mention what we're seeing, the increase you're getting in your equity. You get to write off those taxes, your interest payments, all of those things. So guess what? That's gonna all help with your taxes too. And you get a roof over your head. And these are all really good things and good reasons to buy a house. If you don't have any kind of an IRA or 401k or anything like that, you could almost think of a home as an additional savings account. I mean, you're paying every single month, you're paying down that principal amount that you owe the bank. And before you know it, if you stay at it long enough, you're not gonna have a mortgage at all. And that home is free and clear. So if you go to sell it, that money is all yours. So it's basically like sitting in a free savings account. Like if you're like me and you like to spend, it's probably smart to have a savings account that you can't touch.
If you want to see more videos about life in South Atlanta and real estate, be sure to subscribe. Be sure and like this video and comment below about something maybe you're confused about with the housing market in 2023.
Since this is still a brand new YouTube channel, please let us know what other topics you'd like to talk about or you'd like us to film. I really do mean that. We're trying to build a community here, and your comments and engagement mean the world to us. And remember,
Every move counts.
Because the housing market, it changes as much as I change my underwear.
No, we're not doing that.
What? I got it. I'm just
Okay, you got it.
So the first
This is not as much fun as the Barbie house.
don't put that in there. Come on.
I love you so much.
So again, when we talk about what voice? Okay. That sounds exciting. Hold on, let me do that again. Not to say you're dummies. Maybe we're dummies. No,
Are you talking to that camera?
Oh.
That one.
Beginning. Okay. So you know when you're editing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Avoid that last part.
Yeah. The second one is going to be.
The balance story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So. Okay, I'll squeeze your hand also.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? You're not ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
And remember.
Every move.
That was weak.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was weak.